Hey everyone, welcome to a new Warframe series where I'm going to try and go into as much detail as I can about each Warframe in this game. And as a short disclaimer, this series isn't really intended to be a guide video in the sense that I'm just going to tell you what to use. It's more going to be a very broad, just letting you guys know what the frame does, what the frame excels at, what mods do to the frame, so that you guys can really make an informed opinion on your own about how the frame works and how you want to play the frame. So let's get on with our first frame. So the first frame that I'm going to be covering, as you all can clearly see, is Wukong, because he just came off of a fresh rework around 2 days ago. And just as a friendly reminder to check the date at which this video came out, because there may be patches that are going to buff or nerf him later on. Although I really don't think they'll buff him because, spoiler alert, he is incredibly good right now. But yeah, let's get into the details. So first thing is how to obtain Wukong, and that is simply just by joining a clan. And even if you are a new player, it is incredibly easy to find a clan that is able to give pretty much any blueprint in the game that's clan related, just by going to the recruiting chat and typing, hey, I want to join a clan that has all the blueprints. And about 80% of the time, you will find a clan with just that. So, I believe he is going to be in the Tenno Lab, because that's where all Warframes are. And just something to note is that Wukong does require, for the whole set, 6 Nitane extract, which is pretty hard to obtain, I would say, for a brand new player, just because you have to do some Nightwave. But for everyone else, it should be fairly simple, just because of Nightwave. So now let's get into what Wukong actually does. And first, I'll start off by just briefly talking about his base stats in general. He has 250 armor, which is respectable, especially because he's a melee frame. He has 180 energy at rank 30, so 120 base, which is pretty important that come into play later on. 150 base health, which is definitely a bit higher than usual non-prime frames, which is very nice. 100 base shields, pretty normal, and normal 1 sprint speed. Now, for the abilities themselves, I'll just show a very brief demonstration on what they essentially do. His one is a clone. He creates a permanent clone, so he will never disappear until he dies, or you can just hold one and make him just evaporate. But yeah, you pretty much always want to have this clone out, because even though he is a little he's a little AFK-ish, doesn't really do much. I mean, he does attempt to swing his melee weapon and shoot at guys, but you know, probably the same effectiveness as if you got a 5-year-old to try and play this game. But he at least is here to mimic your abilities. As you can see, I can just use my 3 and mimic that. I can use my 4, he'll pull out this thing with me, although again, he really won't attack. So yeah, he's gonna mimic all your Warframe abilities, and also, if you use your melee weapon, you will use your primary, and if you use your primary or your secondary, you will use your melee weapon, which again doesn't really come into play that much, but it's just kind of neat. Wukong's second ability will transform him into an invincible cloud that can go pretty darn fast and also go in any direction, which is very useful in a lot of missions if you need to pass any sort of gap, or if you fall off the edge and you need to get back up really quickly. You're just always available to do that. Now, in actual combat, it also has an incredible heal ability where I can probably show you. But just spawn some guys. These level 20 corrupt bombards, or 30. So, they take some damage. Alright, now I'm hurt a little bit. And all I have to do is go through them. My clone's doing a little work as well. And heal to full. It's also really nice if you actually need to run away, because you're just so fast and invulnerable, the enemies can't even catch you. So yeah, his 2 is incredibly good. Wukong's third ability does a lot. It first off makes him invulnerable, like his second ability, but also it taunts any enemies within its range to attack you while you're invulnerable. And after the duration is over, or you can cancel it early if you feel to for whatever reason, by pressing 3 again. When the ability ends, it will reflect all the damage that you received while invulnerable back at the enemies, and also give you an armor boost, as you can see in the bottom right hand of my screen, right above my clone. That will last a very long time, assuming you have at least some decent amount of duration. So let me test this on those same bombards. Oh, and it also makes you immune to any sort of status, as you can see, so you can just run into these guys without having any worry of getting knocked down or anything. Yeah, and as you guys can see, I gained 976 armor from just these level 30 guys, and with a pretty short duration, honestly. It's only, my duration base is only 2 seconds. And there's actually a cap on this armor. It goes to, I don't think I'll hit it on these guys, but it goes to 1500 is the maximum. But honestly, 1500 armor, especially as it stands right now, could get you through 99% of this game's content without any sweat. I don't have any more energy to use the ability. So the cap is, right now at least, not really a big deal, and you can hit that cap super easily. As you guys saw, those guys were level 30, so if they were level 100, probably just a couple of hits will be all it takes to hit that cap. Now, Wukong's last ability turns him from an immortal tank into an immortal tank that kills everything. And that is his exalted weapon, the Iron Staff. Now, it works just the same way as other exalted weapons. It has a cost when you take it out, and a drain rate. Also, it has very, very nice combos, which are honestly not hard to use at all. This is just his combo from mashing your melee attack button. And he also has very fast slide attacks, which are very, very nice, long, sweeping attacks. So however you want to use him to attack with, they're all honestly really nice. I won't do a test killing anything just yet because this staff is unmodded. And I'll cover the test when we talk about the mods. But yeah, the staff is very cool as well. Just a quick thing that I forgot to mention about his 1 and 2 is that his 1 you can actually target an enemy, which I can show you right over here. You can target an enemy and make the clone with the enemy. Well, my clone actually just hit all the enemies because my melee weapon has such long range. But yeah, he focuses an enemy with that target above their head, and he does bonus damage to it, which is pretty neat. But honestly, I don't ever use this feature because I like killing everything myself with my staff. And his 2 also has a very brief stun involved with it as well. As you can see, if I pass through it, kind of just get stunned for a little bit. But the stun is honestly pretty negligible, just because, well, the enemies are dead now. Just because the stun is so short, and it can't be increased by ability duration. And I'm running max ability duration right now. And it's very short. I can even just pop out of this early. They're already hitting me again. So, yeah, that's just a couple things to note. Oh, and while you're in the cloud, you are pretty much counted as invisible. So, enemies, lasers, they can't notice you while you're in the cloud, which can come in handy for spies and such. Alright, so let's get on to talking about the Warframe mods and what they do for his abilities. Alright, let me just take off all this duration and reset this. So first thing to note is that when you first make him, he comes with a V polarity on the aura slot, 1 dash polarity, and 1 D polarity, which all of these very useful. Nothing to complain about there. And first thing I'll say about his stats here are that his abilities have very good synergy with each other. Meaning, if you build a ton of duration, you'll have a lot of good things going for pretty much all of his abilities. Same with efficiency, but that's really with every frame, and range, and strength. So no matter how you build him, he's going to be good in some way. So, as an example, I could just pop on primed continuity, giving him 155 ability duration, and you can see duration of his 2, duration of his 3, the invuln time, and the armor duration both greatly increase, and the drain rate of his 4 goes down. You can add ability range, if I can just find a good mod stretch. Probably just search it, but oh well. You get a much bigger stun radius, although that doesn't really come into play, as I just talked about. But this is also, I believe, his heal radius as well, so that will come into play. And this is just the radius of his reflect, and I believe also his taunt. So radius is very effective for both. And ability strength, just throw on blind rage. Ability strength will increase his healing, and it will increase the damage multiplier and armor multiplier in his 3, although the armor multiplier is not as necessary, just as I showed before in his base form. You get that, you hit the cap pretty easily, and obviously strength will increase the damage of his 4, so that is also very nice. So before I talk about the mods that go on his weapon, I want to talk about this augment, Primal Rage, which very, very much increases your damage of your staff. And if you're ever gonna use your staff to kill anything, definitely acquire this mod from your syndicate or buy it from someone else. However, it will give you 15% critical chance every time you kill an enemy, stacking to 150% crit, which is just incredible, and it decays incredibly slowly. So it is very, very good to have if you're going to use your staff. So let's talk about the Iron Staff itself. First thing to note is that it comes with 1 V polarity and 2 dash polarities. Now, I formed 4 more V polarities just so I could get a little bit more room to get creative with how I build this thing. But let's first look at its base stats to get a general gist of it. It has very good crit chance, very good status chance, and pretty decent base damage. It's also not shown here, but through a little bit of testing, I'm pretty sure it has one of the highest ranges of any melee weapon in this game. It might even be up there, like around tied with the Heavy Blade Zaw. So, yeah, this thing has a ton of AoE potential, especially from the combos that I was trying to show earlier. So no matter how you build this thing, it's pretty much always going to be good. You can build it with status, with a lot of upfront damage, especially because it attacks very quickly, so statusing enemies should be no problem. Or you can build it crit, because it has good critical chance. Now, I would maybe slightly lean more towards crit, just because of the Primal Rage augment that I was talking about, but it really doesn't make too much big of a deal. So before I show you my build that I like to run with Wukong, I just want to say that there really is no one correct way to build Wukong, because there's, again, so much great synergies with his abilities. However you play him, whatever your playstyle is, it'll probably take you very far into the game. But enough said about that. I am running a triple umbral build with max efficiency, decent strength just from Intensify, and decent duration just to combat the negative duration of Fleeting Expertise. So I have basically a maxed efficiency build with a lot of tankiness and a little bit of damage, and handspring, and adaptation for survivability. Adaptation just so when you're fighting very, very high level monsters, like in hour-long plus arbitrations, that you don't die too easily. And handspring as well, so you get up faster. Now, as you can see, some of the mods are not maxed just because I can't fit it, because I'm at 0 capacity. And for my staff, I am running kind of a mixed build here with both status and crit. I'm not actually going to proc condition overload that much because my status is only 48% chance. But I like having it on there just because I attack so fast that they're going to get statused a bit. I actually don't own Primed Fever Strike, so I would use that over normal Fever Strike if I had it. But as you can see, I only have 1 capacity, and Primed Fever Strike costs 8 when you have it maxed. So I would need to form a Shocking Touch, or the Dash Polarity, probably into maybe a D Polarity for Drifting Contact, and then I would fit maybe Voltaic Strike on where Vicious Frost is to still get Corrosive. I also have Sacrificial Steel on here, which is why I use so many formulas on this. This is absolutely unnecessary to have. You could put True Steel here, or you can put Organ Shatter for more critical multiplier, because with the Primal Rage augment, you're still always going to be critting when you're at the 150% anyways, or nearly almost critting. I'm still not sure if it's additive or multiplicative yet. I just have sacrificial steel on here because I consider it like an expensive maiming strike. Because if you guys don't know, you can't use maiming strike and blood rush on exalted weapons. But yeah, so that is my build. So enough monkeying around. I'm just gonna do a very high level test here. I have a survival infestation arbitration here, and as you can see, no strengths for anything I'm really gonna be using. And I'm just gonna go in solo, just so I don't have any really good people to essentially help carry and make this mission easier than it should be. So, see you all in a bit. So just as one caveat here for arbitrations, you can't actually use just the Iron Staff to kill everything in this, because arbitration drones are unfortunately immune to exalted weapons. So you still need some sort of weapon that's able to kill them. I'm using a kick gun right now to just easily one-shot them. So for the next couple of clips, I'm going to be commentating over the footage because I forgot to hit record on my microphone when I started recording the footage. Anyways, I wanted to explain why the 120 base energy for Wukong was so important for his builds, because most non-primed frames only have a base 100 energy, going to 150 at rank 30, which is fairly low. So most frames tend to run flow or prime flow because of that. But Wukong's 180 energy at 30, I find, is just enough to still do what I need to do without running anything to increase my energy pool. So at this point in the arbitration, it's been over an hour, and as you can see, these guys are still dying in just a few swings of the staff, honestly. And I was in the cloud and paused there just to check the levels of the enemies, and one was level 162 and the other one was 174, I believe. So yeah, Wukong can pretty easily make it this far just on his own. Another thing to note is the reason why I run so much efficiency in these arbitrations is because the parasitic eczemus, which many will spawn, that drain your energy, having a lot of efficiency makes it easier to recast your abilities after you get drained to 0. As you can see, my energy is again at 0. I believe at some point I'm going to show off Wukong's passive, which I forgot to mention earlier. But I mean, it is better to show in this kind of setting anyways. But yeah, basically his passive is called the 3 layers of immortality, which is quite fitting because even in an arbitration, if you die, which I believe I'll do right here, when you die, you will get revived 3 times in total per mission. I believe I already used one. And even when you die, you gain a pretty nice effect. This one was invisibility for 30 seconds. But I know there are other effects, such as invincibility for 30 seconds, or you get more from globes for like 2 minutes or something. But yeah, that's what Wukong can do in an arbitration. So that's gonna wrap up my in-depth review on Wukong. So please feel free to let me know in the comments what you liked about the video, what you didn't like about the video, what improvements you think I can make, because this is my very first one. And please let me know as well what other content that you'd like to see. I can't guarantee that I will have any sort of regular uploads because I still have a full-time job. But I do enjoy making videos, so I'm always up for the challenge. Thanks everyone for watching, and peace.